First of all, I'm very disappointed because most of my followers are Muslim and most of the comments that were coming was, "Why are you so dark? You look ugly." Arabs and South Asians, Middle Eastern people in general, find it okay to be so racist. And most of you guys are Muslim.
What's your name, bro?
Nice to meet you. I'm Nizzy.
Nizzy, how you doing, bro?
I'm alright.
Right, fire away, man.
Alright, my first question. Why do you think the information about blacks being sold in the Arab world is not mainstream news?
I don't think it goes with the mainstream narrative. I feel like blacks and Arabs are a quote-unquote minority, right? In wherever they go. Yeah. That's what they're classed as. And so what I find is minorities generally try to group together and say, look, we're all minorities, we're all going for the same thing. And I think, personally, I don't think people are ready to kind of, you know, say, okay, but we are all a minority, but what I tend to find that black people become the minority's minority.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? We
worse.
become the minority's minority. So while we are a minority, like when we go to the Arab lands, you know, as you said, I've shown the video on my channel.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Video.
You see the video?
It's quite deep, yeah.
And it's like we are the minority in their lands, and it's like, I don't know. And I also think there's a game being played. I think minorities play a game of knowing that black people want to unify
with them, yeah.
With them.
Nowhere can you buy a black person in this world except for the Arab Muslim world. You can't buy no black people no more. Black people are on auction blocks in Europe, but they're on auction blocks in the Muslim Arab world though.
We're ushered into one of two auctions happening on this same night. Crouched at the back of the yard, a floodlight obscuring much of the scene. One by one, men are brought out as the bidding begins. 400. 500. 550. 600. 650. 700. Very quickly, it's over.
And they kept bringing out what they kept referring to in Arabic as al-buda, the merchandise. All in all, they admitted to us that there were 12 Nigerians that were sold in front of us. And
Take your black ass over to Saudi Arabia, see how they treat you. Take your black ass over to the Muslim world, see how they treat you. Yeah, even to Pakistan, Libya. Don't talk shit to me, bro.
They sell Africans over there. In Libya, they sell men. Even 15-year-old Libyans are there in a car, they're armed. They'll come and kidnap you, and they'll sell you for $70 to $150. And then others will resell you.
People are suffering. People are dying.
A man addressing an unseen crowd. Big strong boys for farm work, he says. 400. 700. 700. 800. The numbers roll in. These men are sold for 1,200 Libyan pounds, $400 a piece.
I'm not even denying colonization, enslavement, but you know what's funny about white people? You will speak to them, yeah, and they will say, you know what, yeah, I know, it's fucked, I know, I'm sorry, it wasn't me. They will have some kind of remorse. Speak to Muslims about Africans being enslaved. Speak to them and see what they say. Oh, well, it wasn't like that. It was like this. When you were a slave, you were treated well. And I'm like, these motherfuckers still trying to justify. They're still trying to justify this shit. They're still trying to justify it.
It wasn't just like, oh, you can't just have sex with this. Many men they didn't view slaves in that manner, because there was also male slaves as well, so they didn't view them in that manner. So they used to take care of them. They had to take care of them, and they had to feed them and clothe them and also provide for them.
Okay, so you think it's okay if people come into Mecca kill everybody and have sex with Khadija, that's okay for you?
No, because the premise I start with is Islam is true. So what I'm saying is,
if a Muslim does it, it's okay. If somebody else does it, it's not okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
As soon as you arrive in Libya, the first thing that happens is that you are taken away and sold. Our black brothers from West Africa, wherever you are from, a Malian, a Senegalese, or any other nationality from the West, even an Ivorian, you are sold. And for what? $700.
Other migrants now start to come forward with their stories.
They took people to work by force. Even where we are at the seaside, where we are working the work, they'll be beating you when you are working the work. I'm doing your work. They'll be maltreating us.
Another man, claiming to be a buyer. Off camera, someone asks, what happened to the ones from Niger? Sold off, he's told.
The term slave is synonymous with black. Instead of saying, oh, that bunch of black guys over there, they will say that bunch of slaves over there.
Literally had a non-black Arab girl today use the word Abid right in front of me, and then I was like, hold up, pause, time out, what'd you say? She's like, no, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about those people. Like, what do you mean, those people? Do you not see that I am black as well? Black as hell?
They are still being called by their ancestral names, slaves. Black Iraqis who have lived for hundreds of years in the southern province of Basra say they are discriminated against.
There are traditions in this society. People may say it doesn't exist, but we feel it. For example, when two people fight in the street, one is black and the other one is white. They say X had a fight with a slave. It really hurts.
Sha'ban is a member of the movement for free Iraqis. He advocates for more rights for black Iraqis, like parliament representation and more jobs. He says there's a conspiracy against them.
Why is there no black merchant or a senior black official in the state? We concluded that there's no place for the black in the Iraqi society or in the state.
They live in poverty and on the margins of society, working in low-paid professions.
And I'm like, that doesn't make you think a certain way. That doesn't make you think, hang on a minute, that's fucked up.
فكان الأسود وما يزال ينظر له نظرة العبد ونظرة الدونية التي أورثها موروثها من السابق ولغاية الآن. فينظر إلى الإنسان الأسود أنه أقل قيمة وأقل أهمية وكأنه حملا متروكا لا أحد يعيره أي اهتمام. حتى السياسيين حتى الكتاب حتى الباحثين لم يعطوا الإنسان وقضايا الإنسان الأسود أي أهمية.
أنا أكون عبد أسود ذاك احترام ماكو تقدير ماكو.
There's nothing in you that stirs as a black man and says, you know what, I can't be treated like this.
Oh, freedom.
Brothers, we're not black. Let's stop talking like we're black. Let's talk in a decent way with decent manners. Allah doesn't like. Allah says you don't know.
And don't forget the house nigger.
انك كنتم عند واحد اسمه ضيف الله الهندوان وبعدين توفوا وتقاسموكم. هل انت تشعر انك ممتلكة ملك سيدك ولا ما انتش ملكه؟
لا ملك.
ها؟
لا ملك.
انت ملك سيدك. تشعر انت نفسك.
كنت تشعر يعني مجبور على انك تشعر. مجبور على انك تشعر.
يعني انك ملك مثل الغنم مثل اي حاجه صح؟
مجبور على انك تشعر بهذا الشعور.
ومن اكثر واحد قسوه عليكم منهم؟
اكثر واحد
قاسي. كم عمره ذا؟
عمره 19 20.
ومن معه؟
مع اختي.
اختك ايام هي عمرها 16 سنه صح؟ هو عمره 19 سنه، هل ممكن مثلا يوم يتحرش فيها يعني زي هكذا اشياء؟
ما اظنش.
ها؟
ما اظنش.
ليش؟
The thing is, Mauritania, I think it was Mauritania in North Africa only outlawed slavery in 2007. Okay, so
Yeah, they were late. Like North Africa's been very late on the abolition of the slave stuff, you know, and so which is why it still goes on today. Because if you only outlawed it in like 2007 or something like that, of course we're going to find it in Libya in 2017. Like it's only 10 years.
Mauritania, in 1981, became the last country in the world to abolish slavery. There was no punishment for slave owners until 2007. The UN says 10 to 20% of Mauritanians live in slavery today. The UN says 10 to 20% of Mauritanians live in slavery today. The UN says 10 to 20% of Mauritanians live in slavery today. We traveled to the country on the western fringe of the Sahara to see for ourselves. We would meet people who never knew freedom, people who escaped to find their lives hadn't changed, and abolitionists who have been fighting against slavery for years with minimal results. We weren't allowed to be reporting on slavery. It's a practice the government tries to hide from outsiders. But as we would find, slavery is everywhere in Mauritania, if you know where to look.
Les chaînes, c'est pour les captifs. Les chaînes, c'est pour l'esclave qui vient de devenir esclave. Mais l'esclave descendant de plusieurs générations, il est esclave même dans sa tête. Et il est totalement soumis. Et c'est malheureusement ce genre d'esclavage que nous avons aujourd'hui. Celui dont rêvait le planteur américain.
One woman we met is trying to bring her case to court. The government is keeping a close eye on her to stop her from telling her story.
يبطنا مسرحنا بايقة من الحيوان البقار والغنم والبن وظلوا السراحة ما من نجي نعود مطيشين شي من البيض والله شي تريف يخبط فوقنا التعمار ويبطنا البط الشديد وباني بنا كاملين شاكين كان يبطني بعد يبطوني كاملين يبطونا بالعمد وبالدبابيس وندوروا فيهم حقنا كاملة.
You can't have true consent in such a scenario. Masters and slaves.
الحرب من النساء هم مثلهم بمعنى إن عشان أذلهم.
You can't have true consent in such a scenario. Masters and slaves.
بيصبحوا ملكا للقائد أو للجيش أو للمسلم.
Crook! Wallah, you're a crook. You are a crook. You are a crook.
يستمتع بيهم كما يستمتع بزوجته.
Problems like these are even more obvious when one leaves the religion and stops making excuses for this immorality masquerading as religious virtue.
كان يبطني بعد يبطوني كاملين يبطونا بالعمد وبالدبابيس وندوروا فيهم حقنا كاملة.
So disrespectful. That shit got me so hot.
والله كنت تركها لا تركتهم ولا مخالدين. لا تركتهم ولا لكن مخالدين.
Where was the outcry? Like, where's the outcry amongst black people in the Arab Muslim world when we can see from where we are that there's still slavery going on with black people and Muslim Arabs? Where is the outcry within the actual community, within the black community, within Islam? It's like they don't care about it. It's like they're just used to that being their status, and it's like their pride's gone, and it's a shame to me. Like it's actually a shame.
Maids account for 10.2% of the total Bahraini workforce,
and 36.6% of the total female workforce in Bahrain. More than 95% of the total number of maids and personal assistants in Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates are foreign female workers. There are 750,000 maids in the United Arab Emirates. 96% of Emirates families hire maids to take care of their children. The Ethiopian consulate in Dubai receives between 5 to 10 complaints from housemaids each day, mainly on issues of unpaid salaries and physical abuse.
I was to come and work in a restaurant, only to my surprise that I came and got myself in the house.
Always I was working from 6:30. I woke up from 6:30 in the morning and I work until 11, non-stop.
It was just all lies. They lied to me. And I'm very discouraged, very discouraged.
They are very rich, but I'm working for them, but it's hard for them to pay me money. The house is very big, but they are making me sleep in the floor. They treat me like a trash. They don't see me like I'm a human being.
Go chat to your Muslim brethren as to how they view black people before you come and chat to me. Don't you dare ever.
They don't think of you as a human being. They think you as a slave to them.
Of Muslims under Islam are still enslaving African people in Libya, in Saudi, in Sudan, right now. Right now.
هذا بابا هذا ماما. اسمها اسمها عربي لأنها مسلم.
من غانا ولا من
أنا أنسى من كذا ما غانا بينا مدري شنو.
من وين؟
ها؟
غينيا. أوكي.
This is all wrong.
We're shocked to find this woman offering to sell us a child. The young girl seems withdrawn and confused.
Je vais te parler en français. Tu as quel âge? Combien? 16 ans.
How dare you?
Tu as quel âge? Combien? 16 ans.
How dare you?
So black people over here will think, oh no, see the Arab guys and the Pakistani guys, they're our friends because they're minorities too. Yeah? Go to their country, see how you treat. Go and see how your friends treat you. Go on, go and see how your friends really treat you.
I don't think there is a human rights in this world. No way. Maybe in Europe, but not in the Middle East. I don't think there is a human rights in this world. No way. Maybe in Europe, but not in the Middle East.
بتصل بيك مشان الشغال المحطوط على الانترنت عندك.
للأمانة الشهادة المؤسسة زينة ولو تقعدت الساعة 5 الليل ما تكشف نفسها وزينة.
هنا نشوفها.
In the Gulf, women employed as domestic workers are being sold online via apps approved and provided by Google and Apple. It's been called an online slave market. Our BBC News Arabic team posed as a husband and wife looking to buy a domestic worker in Kuwait.
Ready?
An app called For Sale is used to buy and sell domestic workers alongside cars and TVs. The BBC team spoke to 57 users of For Sale who were selling their domestic workers online for thousands of pounds. Most women had no knowledge they were being advertised online and then sold.
عندها فكرة إن هي حتنتقل على مكان تاني أو ما عندها مانع بالموضوع؟
ما قلت لها.
ما قلت لها؟
ما عندها مشكلة واحدة جاية تشتغل.
They were also denying domestic workers their basic human rights.
إجازة بتاخد إجازة؟
لا احنا كفوتية ما نخلي صراحة احنا مجرمين.
اوكي. بالنسبة للموبايل وهيك؟
لا انسى موضوع الموبايل هذا ما اعتقد انه يعني هذا من النوع اللي مو متعلم فاهمني؟
يعني ما بدها تتكلم مع اهلها مثلا اذا بتتكلم مع اهلها وكذا.
يمكن مع اهلها تعطيكم مرة بشيء.
Here we come across 5 young women who have escaped their employers' clutches. Now they are stuck in Dubai. They want to remain anonymous for fear of the police. If they are caught in a raid, they will go to jail.
They lure the women with fake work contracts and promises for a better life. But on arrival, these women are shocked to find out that instead of being taken to a hotel or office where they were meant to work, they are being sent to a private home to work as maids. What's even worse is that if the worker tries to run away, she is the one who gets jailed.
Beaten, tortured, others sexually assaulted.
It was inhuman. And the day I was sworn in as a senator, that is when the battle started. As a mother, as a leader, I will not stand, I will not sit and watch this kind of.
The employer is never held accountable, even if his violations against the worker are proven.
My name is Fuzia Wanjiro from Kenya. I worked as a domestic worker in Saudi Arabia, where I never knew that I was going to Saudi Arabia to work as a domestic worker. I knew I was going to Qatar to work as a receptionist. Then when I reached Qatar, I was told like, no, you still have another flight to Saudi Arabia. So I was very much confused on what to do. I can't connect back to my people because my SIM card when I arrived in Qatar, it didn't work. They abuse you a lot. The boys on the house, they know you're a slave to them. You don't have anything to say to them. You can't confront them. When you iron clothes, you iron the whole family clothes. You can take even 5 hours, 6 hours ironing clothes. You don't rest that much. They are telling you like, you know, you're beautiful. We know you're beautiful. No, can you do, if they ask for favors, which it's not allowed because if you do that favor they want, you'll be jailed. Or the woman in the house, she'll kill you. Like other girls have been done. Most of girls, like 3 or 4 Kenyans were killed. About that, they're having an affair with their bosses. Because you feel like, if I go back home, what will I go to do? I left my family. I came here to look for something good for them, to benefit them. But here I am. The boss is demanding for something maybe. Then you feel, okay. He says, if you don't do it, I'll tell my wife you're doing this. So you feel so low, then you feel, okay, let me do it because if he lies or if he says something else, they will believe him than they will believe me. So you end up doing things which you're not supposed to do. They don't think of you as a human being. They think you as a slave to them. You're begging for your salary because they don't want to give it to you. So after I finished my contract, I asked them, can you let me leave now? They said, no. You need to add up 1 year, then you can leave so we can be able to get another maid to come and work for us. I was misused. They used to tell me so many things. I used to cry, but I don't have someone to cry to. Until one day I decided to leave their house and go outside. I went to the police station and I stayed there for 3 weeks. They called my boss and my boss was like, don't let her leave. We still need her. Then I said, let me go. I need to see my family. I need to go. I'm tired of you guys. They said, no. The boss says, I'll start saying, I'll accuse you of stealing. I'll say this and this. You won't go back to your country. And I used to pray and cry a lot.
Speak to Muslims about Africans being enslaved. Speak to them and see what they say. Oh well, it wasn't like that. It was like this. When you were a slave, you were treated well. And I'm like, these motherfuckers still trying to justify. They're still trying to justify this shit. They're still trying to justify it.
They didn't view slaves in that manner, because there was also male slaves as well, so they didn't view them in that manner. So they used to take care of them. They had to take care of them, and they had to feed them and clothe them and also provide for them.
Okay, so you think it's okay if people come into Mecca, kill everybody and have sex with Khadija? That's okay for you?
No, because the premise I start with is Islam is true. So what I'm saying is,
if a Muslim does it, it's okay. If somebody else does it, it's not okay.
Yeah, pretty much. So what I'm saying is,
if a Muslim does it, it's okay. If somebody else does it, it's not okay.
Yeah, pretty much. So what I'm saying is,
if a Muslim does it, it's okay. If somebody else does it, it's not okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're here in northern Ghana.
You see, about 100 years ago, the British Empire came to this country with their missionaries, and they told the people that Jesus should be believed in as God. Yes, they tried to take your minerals. They tried to take your gold.
Anga banga banga. Banga banga banga. Anga banga banga.
Yes, they tried to take your minerals. They tried to take your gold.
Anga banga banga.
Banga, banga, banga. The same people that came to you 100 years ago. The English, the British, the colonizer. The English, the British, the colonizer.
The Arab conquest of North Africa, was that a form of colonization?
Absolutely. That the Arab conquest of North Africa was a form of colonization that took place in the 7th century, when Arab Muslims burst out of Saudi Arabia and conquered Egypt and went on to conquer the whole of North Africa. There were a lot of Berber tribes there. The Egyptian Copts were the original indigenous of the land, as well as the Berbers. And they were all conquered and Islamized and Arabized. That was also a form of colonization, definitely.
Now, do Muslims today acknowledge this? Are they self-critical about this? Now, do Muslims today acknowledge this? Are they self-critical about this? Now, do Muslims today acknowledge this? Are they self-critical about this? Now, do Muslims today acknowledge this? Are they self-critical about this? Now, do Muslims today acknowledge this? Are they self-critical about this?
Not to the extent that the West has become very critical. In fact, many Muslims don't even admit that there was any form of colonization.
The English, the British, the colonizer, the imperial power that came to the Gold Coast.
In fact, many Muslims don't even...
Did Prophet Muhammad have slaves?
Prophet Muhammad didn't have slaves, brother.
Yo, I'm out of here. I'm done.
So what I'm saying is,
if a Muslim does it, it's okay. If somebody else does it, it's not okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't Don't you think intelligent black men and women would now denounce a God that can be called on by the slave master, who can perpetuate his imprisonment on your people year in and year out to no avail, making us eunuchs, double castrating us, cutting our penis and our balls off, and now you tell me it is safe to study and adhere to the very religion that the man that double castrated us in the East got away with so he can have sex with our women? Are you kidding me? Explain. Why should we worship your God when he ain't do shit for black people all those years? Why?
A poor neighbourhood of Mauritania's capital, Nouakchott. Habi and her son don't have much, but even so, it's a lot more than they used to have when Habi was a slave to an Arab family. 2 years ago, an organisation campaigning against slavery rescued her from her former masters.
In the beginning, it was very difficult for me. It was very difficult to leave my masters because I thought there weren't any other options. I just couldn't imagine I'd be able to live without them.
Biram Ould Abaid works for the NGO in question, SOS Slaves. He says it's freed more than 50 slaves over the past 2 years, but that there are thousands more still out there. The slaves are mainly from the ethnic community known as the Haracene, a group oppressed for 800 years in the region, so long that slaves too often simply accept their fate as an inferior caste.
When you talk about slaves in Mauritania, you're talking about people who were born slaves. That means who work with no salary, who have no rights with their children, no right to education, and if it's a woman, she must sleep with her masters at their will.
Why should we worship your God when he ain't do shit for us?
But let's get this understood. First of all, when we using this context of slavery, we have to understand.
Are you going to answer the question because you did this the other night?
Hold on. Check this out. When you use the context of slavery, you have to know what slavery is, right? So slavery is to put yourself in bondage, right? To be in bondage, right? So what the white man did was not just put us in bondage.
No. Let's talk about that goddamn Arab. Let's talk about that Arab first.
We're using this term slavery and making it synonymous across the board, which is a very, very big mistake.
So the Muslims didn't enslave black people?
Listen.
Are you, hold on, before we move forward, stop. Before we move forward, I am talking about castration. I'm talking about being murdered. I'm talking about not having the right of freedom to read or write what I want. Are you saying Muslims did not do this in the name of Allah to black people?
I'm telling you, Muslims did not do that in the name of Allah to black people.
All right, yo, I'm done talking to him. Yo, we talk to you later. I can't do this. I'm not doing this. But I'm not going to let no nigga tell me that Muslims didn't oppress and enslave and castrate and lynch and incapacitate, stop us from reading and writing. I'm not going to let no nigga tell me that. In the name of Allah, in the name of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is the same damn demon that was used and called upon to enslave our people. You can't get away with that. I would be wrong to allow the people to listen to you speak any further. At least keep it real and say.
أن الإنسان لا يخجل من دينه ويقول لا هذا قبل والإسلام لا يدعو إلى هذا. لا، كن قويا في دينك، أظهر دينك. نعم هذا ديني، نعم. الذي لا يرضى أن يعبد الله تبارك وتعالى فإنه يستعبد أو يدفع الجزية أو يدخل في الإسلام أو يقاتل. هذه الأحوال الأربعة أبدا، لا يوجد حال خامس. لذا أول ما يدعى الإنسان يدعى الإسلام، يقول له اعبد الله تبارك وتعالى. الله خلقك لتعبده، فإذا قال لا أريد أن أعبد الله تبارك، نقول تعيش في أرض الله ولا تعبده، ادفع الجزية. يقول ولن أدفع الجزية. فإذا رفض أن يعبد الله ورفض أن يدفع الجزية، نقول له إذن ما لنا معك إلا القتال، فنقاتله لأجل هذا. فإن قتلناه فهو في النار، وإن أسرناه فهو من السبيل.
I would be wrong to allow the people to listen to you speak any further. At least keep it real and say.
There are some Muslims amongst us these days who want to go around and say, oh, Islam was never spread by the sword. That's a blatant lie. It was spread many times by the sword. The Sharia was spread by the sword. The implementation of Sharia was spread by the sword.
Now we got to get into what slavery is. So what you going to do? Tell me about a fancy rendition of slavery that is different so we can let these motherfuckers off the hook? Are you serious? The one that is trying to present the slave masters trash to you and tell you now that they ain't enslave us. How the hell I'm gonna allow him to speak on this show? It's supposed to be for educational purposes. I don't mind disagreeing with somebody, but this ain't gonna be like the other night with Bashir when he's trying to, what's the definition of good? All this craziness. Now, what is slavery, brother? Brother, you know what slavery I'm talking about. I'm talking about us being made into eunuchs. I'm talking about us not being able to reproduce ourselves. I'm talking about us not having the freedom and the privilege to be left to our own vices so we can advance our own society or destroy it of our own free will and of our own accord. That's what I'm talking about. So let's not play crazy when we talk about slavery. You ain't gonna give me no fancy slavery, because I ain't talking about no fancy slavery. I ain't talking about no indentured servants. I know what you're talking about. I'm not crazy. I know the willing slavery, indentured servitude that people could go into and then be returned to their family. We're not gonna play games like the slavery that I'm talking about didn't transpire within the confines of Islam. That is disrespectful to black people, and you are hiding the facts on behalf of your Arab slave master. You hiding for the Arab slave master, who, in my opinion, is worse than the white slave master. The white slave master monetized slavery and made niggas think it was more impressive to be a slave under the white man than the Arab, because the Arab is so damn vicious to us. You see all those mulattoes running around in Africa right now? You think light-skinned people naturally populated Africa? They double castrated us and raped the women by the millions. The man in the world leading and most babies ever made was a damn Muslim who had over 10,000 black men in servitude with their penises cut, and had the most women in bondage that were black women, and raped them, every last one of them. And who he couldn't rape, he let his soldiers rape them, and raped them, every last one of them. And who he couldn't rape, he let his soldiers rape them, and raped them, every last one of them. And who he couldn't rape, he let his soldiers rape them. Who he couldn't rape, he let his soldiers rape him. And that's why you see the coolie hair Arab today that look a little like he's black. It look like he has, phenotypically it looks like he has some black features. And you're gonna ignore all of that and tell me no Muslim enslaved us? You're gonna ignore all of that and see them black features on them Arabs and think that that is natural? All because you're trying to protect the law? You can't do that. Not until you admit Muslims enslaved black people. Hold on. You can't talk until you admit Muslims enslaved black people.
Admit that, boss.
Yes.
But they are not Muslim.
I hear you.
The Quran.
They ain't have a Quran in their goddamn hand?
So if you show me the Quran where it says to castrate them, then I'll say, you know what, Quran? You're absolutely right.
Did Prophet Muhammad have slaves? Did Prophet Muhammad have slaves? Did Prophet Muhammad have slaves?
Prophet Muhammad didn't have slaves, brother.
Yo, I'm out of here. I'm done.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. Gonna find you and take it slowly.